Okay, so I'm going to work through the first few problems on worksheet 10 in Unit 7. This is the 5 reaction types where you have to write the formulas of the reactants, figure out what type of reaction it is so that can lead you to what the products are, or at least what the partners of everything in the products are, and then balance the whole reaction. So I'll do number 1 here. Barium metal reacts with oxygen in a reversible reaction to form. Okay, so there's words here that you don't really need to worry about. What you need to worry about is its barium reacts with oxygen. So we're going to barium plus oxygen. We have to make sure we write the formulas correctly. Barium all by itself is just barium, but oxygen all by itself we know is one of our diatomics. It's O2. And it says it forms whatever. Well, we got to figure out what type it is. We know it's not a combustion because it's not a fuel plus oxygen, it's just barium. It's not a decomposition because those only have one reactant, whereas we have two. The other three types, combination, single, and double replacement, all have two reactants. The double replacement, both of the reactants would be ionic compounds. For the single, one of them would be an ionic compound. We have neither of them as an ionic compound, so it must be a combination, in which case all we have to do is put them together. So barium and oxygen come together. We have to write the formula. It's +2 for barium, -2 for oxygen. So that's it. It's BaO. Now we need to balance. And as always, we start at the left. One barium on the left, one on the right. Then we move across to oxygen. Two oxygens on the left, but only one on the right. Well, we can't have lost an oxygen, so we had to end it with two, the same two we started with, but that means we had to have started with two bariums. Number 2 is the combustion of pentacarbon hydrate. Well, this one tells you what the reaction is. It's a combustion, so we know it's going to be the fuel plus oxygen makes CO2 and water. Our fuel here is pentacarbon heptahydride, so pentacarbon heptahydride, C5H7. Since it's combustion, it's going to be mixed with oxygen. It's going to produce CO2 and water. And we know that these are all gases. Okay, so now all we have to do is balance. We have 5 carbons on the left, which means we must have ended with 5 carbons. We have 7 hydrogens on the left and 2 on the right. Well, we can't make it an odd number on the right. It's always going to be an even number of hydrogens. So when we're confronted with an odd and an even number, the only thing we can do is the least common multiplier. So between 7 and 2, that's 14. So I'll put a 2 here to make it 14 hydrogens on the left, and a 7 here to make it 14 hydrogens on the right. Okay, so but that kind of messes up my carbon. I now have 10 on the left, so I'll have to come back and fix that and make it 10 on the right. Okay, so now my carbons are done and my hydrogens are done. I'll move on to the oxygens. I only have 2 on the left, but on the right I have 20 here in this compound and another 7 in this compound. So a total of 27 on the right, but only 2 on the left. Another odd and even thing. So the least common multiplier between 27 and 2 is 54. So I'll go ahead and make this 54 oxygens on the left. I put a 27 there. And then to go from 27 to 54, I just need to have twice as much. So I'll make this 20 CO2s and 14 waters on the right. And that means I also need, since I have 20 carbons on the right, I had to have started with 20 carbons. So I'll go ahead and put a 4 there on the left. All right, one more. Aqueous copper 2 nitrate, when heated, reacts with powdered potassium phosphate, yielding what our products are. Okay, so there's a lot of words, but we only need to focus on the copper 2 nitrate is heated with potassium phosphate. So KPO4, and this is K3PO4. Well, this is 2 reactants. They're both ionic. That's our double replacement. So we're just going to double switch these 2 negatives here. I'm going to leave the copper and the potassium alone, but I'm going to take the phosphate from the potassium and go ahead and put it over on the copper. write the formulas. I know it's copper 2 and phosphates 3. And the nitrate was on the copper. It's going to come over here and be with the potassium. Plus 1 and minus 1 means that's the formula KNO3. Now I need to balance. I'll go ahead and just move left to right. I have 1 copper on the left and 3 on the right. Well, I had to have started with 3 to end with 3. That gives me a total of 6 nitrates because there are 3 copper nitrates with 2 nitrates each. So I'm going to have 6 nitrates when I'm all done. 3 potassiums on the left and 6 on the right. If I ended with 6, I had to start with 6. That gives me 2 phosphates and 2 phosphates. So that's the first 3. The back of the worksheet is just where you don't have to actually figure out what the formulas of the reactants are. They're already written for you. It's a lot of work, but practice makes perfect. You just need to figure out what the products are, write them, and balance the reaction.